Hello, you guys, and welcome. I'm thrilled to see everyone on today. We had over 100 people sign up for the Digestion Fix. So I'm going to give just a few minutes for everyone to pop on. Oh, it's so good to see you guys. A lot of you I haven't seen or even connected with in the last several years. So I'm really thrilled to offer this information, and I'm excited for the people who are on in person. If you stay till the end, one of you is going to be receiving a $250 gift certificate that can be used towards a one-on-one consultation with me, or can be used towards our group program. So I'll also be staying to answer Q&A live at the end of this. And we also have some questions that were sent in for people who are not able to attend live. So let's jump in, you guys. Really excited. Please make sure that you mute yourselves. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. So we have very few distractions, and we're going to jump in. So welcome to the Digestion Fix. I'm just so thrilled to be able to share this information about three pervasive but highly treatable gut imbalances that what I found over the last 13 years has been responsible for upwards of 80% of my clients' symptoms. So it's pretty fascinating, right? Because so many of the symptoms that we're going to talk about, and like many of you may be struggling with, have been told are just part of getting older, are part of maybe all are psychosomatic, are in your head, are told that if you just lost weight and exercise a little more, that many of these things will go away, and or are told that you just have to manage symptoms, and this is the way life is going forward. But what we know, and what I know, is that that doesn't have to be the case. So before we jump in, I want to give a little introduction to who I am. Many of you know me, but there are others that don't. And really, over the last, and give you a little bit about my story. Over the last 12 years, I've had the opportunity to help support many men, women, and even adolescents and children who are struggling with chronic, sometimes debilitating um, symptoms, right? And disease or disordered. They came to me because they were wanting answers. They were and had very much lost hope. They were struggling with things like, fatigue, chronic digestive complaints, maybe headaches, bloating, brain fog, hormonal imbalances, headaches, skin issues, inflammation, and maybe even joint pain. And what they were looking for were solutions. And sadly, the solutions that they were offered were many times worse than what the symptoms they were struggling with. It simply masked symptoms. And over time, they became more desperate, more tired, overwhelmed, and sick. Sound familiar? What if I told you that 80% of these symptoms could actually be resolved and improved by addressing the same root cause? So, what I've discovered over my extensive background, working with clients one on one, working with programs, and also having the opportunity to be a corporate speaker and work with individuals with an extensive functional medicine training program, is that even my toughest cases, that about 80% of their symptoms could be resolved. And it's is really simple. It just has to do with an imbalanced digestive tract that is caused by three highly treatable yet overlooked gut imbalances. So in a few minutes, I'm going to share not only how you can identify if you have one or all three of these imbalances, but how to treat them and heal these imbalances for good. Can you imagine feeling healthy, balanced, and more than anything, just like yourself again? So as you can see, I over the last several years, I've been the colleague that my colleagues and many individuals will turn to for their toughest cases, even some gastroenterologists. I'm a corporate speaker and educated, and you can educator, and you can see where my specialties are, right? Functional medicine, nutrition, particularly digestion, women's health, mindfulness, yoga, and fitness. Now, what I alluded to earlier is that I had the privilege to be the teaching assistant for a renowned functional medicine program that has trained thousands of doctors, nurse practitioners, nurses, as well as chiropractors, acupuncturists in functional medicine, some of which even were coming from the Mayo Clinic, Cleveland Clinic, and Stanford and UCSF. And part of that opportunity opened up to a landmark study, a functional medicine study with the prestigious Mayo Clinic. And it was an evaluation of functional medicine approach to treating fatigue, stress, and digestive issues. There were 25 women ages 30 to 55 who were in a high stress position, either in their job or in their home life. And many of them, like you, have been struggling for decades, maybe, right? Months, decades, years with chronic complaints. They had been brushed off by their MDs. They had been told that it was all in their head. And again, over time, we're progressively getting a longer and longer laundry list of symptoms. So the beauty of this study that it was a huge step in validating functional medicine. And what I'm so excited to share is that the approaches that we used in that functional medicine clinic, many of them are going to be discussed today. So make sure you stay towards the end in just a few minutes. Well, but that's only really part of my story. The other part of my story has to do with a very personal side. And it has to do with me as a child growing up with a mother who was absent. She was always in pain or too fatigued to barely get through the day. And she had suffered for decades with unexplained health issues, everything from pain to bloating, chronic diarrhea, migraines, massive food sensitivities. So many, in fact, she was down to 7 foods that she could eat or tolerate. She ended up in the emergency room over 3 times, about 3 times every month, just because she was in so much pain, debilitating pain. She had been brushed off and given junk diagnosis like IBS, fibromyalgia, and chronic fatigue. Ultimately, she was offered an antidepressant because medical tests couldn't find anything wrong with her. She was perfectly healthy and yet was feeling like garbage. Now, I also had to witness my younger brother, who at 22 years old was shrinking to a mere skeleton of the man that I knew. He is a little over 6'3" and weighed 122 pounds. He was suffering and nearly died from ulcerative colitis. He was put on powerful, powerful immunosuppressant drugs, so much so that his teeth started falling out and his mental health started to tank. And years prior to all of this, the man that I knew as my godfather passed away because of complications in surgery from ulcerative colitis. So when my daughter was born, my younger daughter was suffering for the first 6 months of her life with chronic ear infections, runny nose, fevers. I had had enough. I needed answers and solutions. And that is when I discovered functional medicine, and my entire world and life changed. So I am thrilled, and I'm thrilled to be able to share these amazing experiences with you and the expert knowledge and step-by-step solutions that I've been able to share with my clients. I often wonder what the outcome would have been for my godfather if he was given different options, if he was given different solutions and knew that there were different options to healing his colon instead of surgery. So it's become my mission to teach and empower men and women who build sustainable lifestyles and create vibrant health, balanced bodies. So really that you can lead a life of purpose and a life of passion, because we know when you're struggling with barely enough energy to get through the day, or having to manage symptoms day to day, your ability to fully engage in life with your loved ones, with your family members, and even with your career is really significantly interfered with. So here's the truth, you guys. The truth is, we've been given the wrong prescription for health. And really, our bodies are screaming for support. We just haven't been taught how to interpret the symptoms and then need to be given the exact steps to help provide the support that our bodies needs to heal intrinsically. Now, I was very disillusioned and frustrated with conventional medicine when I first got into functional medicine. And I know many of you have the same feelings. And what I want to tell you is that it is not our doctor's fault. Why conventional medicine got it wrong? It's because of their education. Their education is that they are only trained to diagnose, they are not trained to understand why particular imbalances are cropping up, or to start to see how intricately the body is connected. I often say if we treated the human body the way we treat, let's say, an automobile, where you had to go to or an automobile, the way we treat the human body, where we'd have to go to an engine specialist or a carburetor specialist or a battery specialist or a catalytic converter specialist, and we start having problems in our engine, the engine light comes on and we go to the specialist, but they don't know how the body is all interconnected. That the reason that the engine isn't working is because there's something wrong with the battery and vice versa. So they have a very, very limited tool bag in terms of solutions they can offer you. It's going to be a prescription medication based on their diagnosis and or surgery. This is for chronic conditions, right? They have little to no training in health and nutrition. So when you go to your doctor and ask, is this supplement something that I should be using? Or what diet should I be using? It is out of their scope unless they have been trained. And then, quite frankly, could be doing more harm than good if they're sharing information that they are not educated on. They only get 4 credit hours of nutrition training in their entire 40,000 hours of training. They're not taught how to heal the body. They're only look at how to identify what's wrong. So I just want to encourage you that you're in the right place, right? You're in the right place. If you've been feeling frustrated, if you've been feeling like you've been getting the runaround and you're just getting brushed off, you're getting brushed off and told it's because your hormones are changing, or you're getting older, or you're a little burnt out, or you just need to lose weight and exercise more, and you'll start to see all of these symptoms disappear. If you've intuitively felt like something is wrong or imbalanced and are just desperate for answers, today I'm going to share some of the 3 biggest imbalances that may be related to the majority of your symptoms, and help you heal as well as start to resolve your symptoms for good. I also want you to know that if you're beginning to think maybe it is all in your head, maybe you just haven't worked hard enough, or that maybe even you're crazy. What I'm here to tell you today is that you are not. But there is a disclaimer that if you're looking for a quick fix or a pill, you're in the wrong spot, right? These are not imbalances that are going to be healed overnight. They're going to take some dedication. It's going to take some commitment, guidance, support, and accountability. Even a probiotic is not going to resolve an imbalanced digestive tract. But if you're looking for a way to dramatically improve your health for sustainable lifestyles, as well as improve your body and your mental well-being, all while balancing your health, you're in the right spot. So here are some house rules. Please turn off. I'm going to do the same thing. Turn off your notifications so that you are minimizing all distractions. This is potentially life-changing information that I don't want you to miss. Please come with an open mind, because some of what I be sharing may be contradictory to what you've been told or sold. And then take notes. I share a ton of very helpful information. If you miss some of it, don't worry, because I will be sharing the recording with all of you, even those of you who are on live today. So here is what we're going to talk about and learn today. You're going to learn about how these three pervasive gut imbalances may be the cause of 80% of your chronic complaints. I'll be sharing what the most prevalent symptoms are and providing you with some ways to identify one, if you have one or all three of these hidden gut imbalances. Even if you don't have digestive complaints, I'll be teaching you the essential steps to get rid of these imbalances so you can reclaim your energy, mood, and body again. I'll give you a list of some foods and supplements that are needed to clear SIBO, which is one of the imbalances, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, SIFO, which is called small intestinal fungal overgrowth, or stomach acid imbalances. You'll learn the exact eating strategies that I've shared with my one-on-one clients to prevent these imbalances from coming back. Because what I see all the time and what I see in different groups on Facebook is that people who struggle with these imbalances have been told or believed that these are dietary strategies that they have to stay on for years. That is absolutely not the case. If you're having to struggle with these for years, you haven't identified the imbalances in the first place that have caused these issues, and you have to support them and improve digestion and your absorption so that they don't come back. And at the end, stay to the end, I will be answering questions live as well as providing you with a special bonus. So again, what has been so nice is these are some of I've been featured on as an expert and digestive health and women's health specialist on many functional medicine clinics. Functional medicine summits, as well as radio shows. And these are the exact protocols that we've shared. I'm thrilled because we're starting to disseminate this information. The digestion sessions through Underground Wellness, these interviews went out to over 1 million individuals. So the information is out there. And today you will be hearing some of what I've shared over the last few years. But before we get into it, I do want to give you a little glimmer of hope and to tell you what is possible with one of my most chronic, severe cases. Because if Delaney was able to heal her imbalances, I want you to know that the body is magnificently designed. And when we provide the body with the support that it needs, it begins to heal. It knows how to heal intrinsically. So here is Delaney. She is one of my most inspiring clients, and she was one of the sickest clients that I've had to date. I had the privilege to work with her when she was 18 years old, who at the time we were introduced, she was told that she would have to have her entire colon removed and would need to learn to live life with a colectomy bag for the rest of her life. Instead of accepting her diagnosis, her mother sought answers and found me. And after only 8 months on my comprehensive gut healing program, and with a ton of dedication, commitment, faith, and immense support from her mama, her colon was healed. Her gastroenterologist claimed that she had gone into miraculous remission. But I have a secret for you. It was not a miracle. It's called functional medicine, and it works. And it's worked for hundreds of my clients and individuals. It's the only real medicine you should be using. And I want you to know that it will be available to work for you. So, why this information is so incredibly important, and why some of you may be thinking, I don't have any gut or digestion imbalances, is because all disease begins in the gut. Hippocrates had this wisdom over 2,000 years ago. And what we've now found through research is that there is an enormous connection. The gut is known as the second brain, and for good reason. So the digestive tract houses up to 80% of our immune system is in the gut. We also know that we have more bacteria than actual human cells. We're more bacteria than human cells in the human body. You have more nerve endings in your gut than you do in your spine. There is about 90% of serotonin, and serotonin is our happy, calming neurotransmitter. And this production takes place not in your brain, but in your gut, you guys. 20% of your thyroid hormone. So, for many of you who may be struggling either with hypothyroidism or hyperthyroidism, the body produces thyroid hormone, but it has to be produced into an activated form. And 20% of that production and conversion actually happens in the gut. The other 80% actually happens in the liver. And the liver gets dramatically bogged down by the toxins that these imbalances actually give off and can further cause thyroid imbalances. I've seen it over and over again. We start fixing the gut, balancing the stomach acid in the body, getting rid of Candida or SIFO and SIBO, and your thyroid comes back into balance. 90% of melatonin. Melatonin is not only what helps lull you to sleep, but it's a very powerful antioxidant, incredibly helpful as well as immunity. It's produced in your digestive tract. And what has been even more cutting edge on the forefront of microbiome research is that these gut imbalances can actually be linked and drive neuropsychiatric disorders and even autoimmunity. And I'm going to show you that link in a little while. So, number one, the first pervasive gut imbalance that we're going to talk about is Candida, or small intestinal fungal overgrowth. Now, Candida is not something we want to eradicate because it does have an important role in our bodies. It actually is a fungus that helps with nutrient absorption. It's considered normal gut flora, right? And the only problem is when it starts to proliferate and is left unchecked, it causes total havoc in the body. Now, the first thing we want to talk about is like, how does it go from normal flora in the body to having a party and having an overgrowth in your body? And these are some of the most common causes. So if you have been had a lot of antibiotic usage, if you have been on birth control for more 6 months to 2 years, if you regularly use nonsteroidal anti-inflammatories, proton pump inhibitors or antacids are the absolute worst. I know they're given to you because you've got digestive issues, right? You may have heartburn, silent reflux, burping, belching, and you've been put on it and told that they are safe. However, conventional medicine is showing, in research, that they were only studied in humans for 6 weeks, nothing longer. I've had clients who've been on them for decades. And in fact, Dr. Mark Hyman, who runs the functional medicine clinic at the Cleveland Clinic, has come out to say that they are the most damaging drugs on the market, not only for your digestion, but for your overall health. And I'll tell you why when we get to the leaky gut and stomach acid slides. So steroids, high sugar, high starch diets. Candida loves sugar and loves anything that breaks down into sugar and allows you to propagate. So if you've been a sugar addict, this could be one of the driving reasons why you have Candida. Excessive alcohol intake, chronic stress, food sensitivities. If you were born through C-section or your babies were born through C-section, one of my youngest daughter was, don't think that you're doomed, but it does set you up for predispositions for imbalanced gut microbiome, and you may have to work a little bit harder to work on gut diversity. And if you are formula fed versus breastfed, breastfeeding brings in part of the first inoculation of microbiome and bacteria, healthy bacteria in your body, is from going through the birth canal. And the second is through breastfeeding. So here are some signs. And you may go, oh my gosh, I have so many of these. I definitely have Candida. Brain fog, I'd say, is the number one symptom I see people who are struggling with Candida. Fatigue, intense sugar and carbs cravings, particularly sugar addiction, because guess what? These little fungus want to survive, and they know that they can survive and propagate if they are fed sugar and anything that breaks down into sugar. So one of the strategies for knocking Candida down is going on a low junk food diet, for sure, whole foods diet, but also dramatically limiting your starch for a certain amount of time. Weight loss resistance, joint pain, anxiety, skin issues, sinus respiratory issues, gas, particularly if you find that you're switching and undulating between constipation and diarrhea. If you've got chronic UTIs, urinary tract infections, vaginal, rectal, or jock itch, yeast infection, and toenail fungus. Whenever I am getting a manicure or pedicure, I have such a hard time not reaching over and telling someone who I hear talking about nail fungus, how chronic it's been and how they have to get it lasered. I want to turn over and say, it's in your gut. But I've learned not to keep to myself unless they ask. So, one of the biggest issues with yeast is not only that it interferes with the absorption and digestion of all the nutrients that you are trying to extract from food. Not only does it actually poke holes in your intestinal lining over time to cause one of the major leading causes of leaky gut, is it's the toxins that yeast produce. There's over 79 different toxins that can drive brain fog, fatigue, and joint pain. And it is one of the reasons why you stay feeling sick, bloated, foggy, itchy, and tired. And the one that is actually one of the most toxic is acetaldehyde. It's a byproduct of yeast, and acetaldehyde is what is given off when you drink too much alcohol. So when you're hungover, the reason you feel like garbage is because of this byproduct. So yeast alone can be the reason why you are feeling so horrible. This is some fairly new research, and I just came across it this year and my jaw dropped when reading this study that not only does yeast interfere with the absorption and digestion of nutrients, but it actually interferes with the conversion of dopamine to norepinephrine. Dopamine is our focus, motivation, drive. It's our pleasure and reward center neurotransmitter. Norepinephrine is one of our endorphins. And so through yeast and some of its byproducts, as well as a bacteria called Clostridia, it actually interferes with this conversion. So even if you're getting adequate amounts of tyrosine, which is the building block from protein, for dopamine, it may be blocked because you have a yeast overgrowth or a bacterial overgrowth from Clostridia. And what this study is showing is that it can be one of the leading factors for neuropsychiatric disorders like autism, schizophrenia, ADHD, ADD. I've seen a huge impact in anxiety, OCD, binge eating disorder as well. And by treating Clostridia and knocking down yeast, there is an improvement of up to 85% of symptoms. Incredible, right? So the second gut imbalance that I want to discuss is SIBO. It is an acronym that stands for small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, and occurs when there is an increase of bacteria in the small intestine. So most of the bacteria, the 100 trillion bacteria that we talk about, are housed in your large intestine and colon. And that's what gets completely wiped out when you take antibiotics. So the bacteria that's in the small intestine is only supposed to be a very, very small population, limited population. But what happens is when that bacteria starts to proliferate, sometimes it can be because of your motility is slow. There's another laundry list of symptoms that we'll get into next, but it causes your food to putrefy and rot and start to ferment many of the healthy foods that you eat on a daily basis. SIBO has also it's been discovered that it is 80% of the underlying cause of IBS. IBS used to be a junk diagnosis. It was a diagnosis where you were having a laundry list of GI symptoms, but all of your gut tests came out clean, from endoscopy to colonoscopy to blood work. And so they believed it was all in your head. But now, because of the discovery from Monash University out of Australia, they've discovered small intestinal bacterial overgrowth is actually the cause, and it is the number one cause of stomach bloating. So what are the signs that you have SIBO? The first and most telling sign is if you have stomach bloating after meals, particularly if your bloating gets worse as the day progresses. I'll have clients that will claim that their stomachs, and they've taken pictures, that they look 5 to 6 months pregnant by the end of the day. Constipation and or diarrhea, you can have SIBO C or SIBO D, constipation driven or diarrhea driven. Heartburn because of the pressure that it causes on your stomach. Nausea, allergies, headaches, itchy skin, acne. Now, two other telling signs are probiotics make you feel worse, as well as high fiber foods make you feel worse. Now, one of the reasons why, and how the mechanism through which SIBO actually can cause headaches, allergies, brain fogs, and just overall inflammation in the body is it because it drives up histamines. And histamines is an allergy response, right? So if you are feeling red and flushed often, if you don't particularly care for the heat, an indication that you have higher histamine levels in the body. Itchy, headaches, hives, vertigo, hypertension, which is high blood pressure, can be related, even dizziness and vertigo. Nasal congestion, eczema are some signs that you have either some mast cell activation or that your histamines are taking over, and it causes the body to go in a hyperimmune response. Now, there are some quick solutions that can help relieve some of the symptoms of histamines. Now, this is for symptom relief. It's for lowering histamines, but you have to heal these gut imbalances in order to bring your histamine load lower. So binders can help relieve some of these symptoms. One of my favorite binders is something called zeolites. You can find it in a capsule or in a spray. And the spray, considered a smart binder because it doesn't bind to minerals. Other binders like activated charcoal, which is really popular on the market right now. Activated charcoal should only be used in acute situations because it does bind to minerals and vitamins as well. So you'd want to stay away from that. Zeolite can be used for about 60 days. It's great for knocking down mold toxins if you've been exposed to mold, if you've been exposed to fungal toxins, endotoxins from bacteria, as well as even heavy metals. Foods that are high in quercetin can be really helpful. Quercetin is like a natural antihistamine. It helps knock down histamine levels naturally. Pomegranates are not only amazing for helping lower histamine response so that you should have fewer allergy symptoms, lower congestion, less itchiness, but it helps actually diversify and rebuild one of the most foundational families of microbes in your large intestine called Akkermansia muciniphila. This low levels of Akkermansia muciniphila have been linked to diabetes and obesity, as well as hypermetabolic syndrome, so high cholesterol as well. And they found through research is that you start feeding these microbes, improving your Akkermansia levels, and your risk factors start to decrease. Your weight starts to drop, your blood sugar starts to normalize, and your cholesterol does as well. Fascinating, right? And then there is another product that's actually this last one, Enteros gel, is great for Candida, but it was actually first used in Russia for exposure to radiation. So incredibly powerful, but that should be something that's used short term, not long term. Now, what causes SIBO? Infections, molds, and viruses. If there is a date that you can specifically remember getting food poisoning, right? Montezuma's revenge, maybe traveling. It doesn't have to be from going to a third world country, but 80% of, or a high percentage, I wouldn't say 80%, high percentage of IBS cases are related to post-infectious IBS. So that if you know that you got food poisoning or you got really, really ill and your digestion hasn't been the same since, this may be the case for you. Multiple food sensitivities, particularly gluten and dairy. Those are the two biggest offending foods. particularly for causing gut inflammation. Now, the foods that are problematic with SIBO, there's a laundry list of these foods. It's not because you're sensitive to them. It's because the bacteria in your small intestine is causing fermentation, which has caused massive maybe gas, but definitely bloating, low stomach acid, and low stomach acid we're going to get into shortly, and then poor motility. If you have had chronic constipation, that can be one of the main drivers. So improving your motility is going to be essential to getting your body to work on peristalsis to be able to move food and waste through your intestinal tract. So one of the solutions for SIBO that is incredibly powerful and effective, I encourage you, if you are suspicious of thinking that maybe you have SIBO, try this dietary strategy for 3 to 5 days. I have seen clients bloating improve up to 80 to 90%, even after 5 days on a low FODMAP diet. Now, FODMAP stands for, it's an acronym that stands for fermentable oligosaccharides, disaccharides, monosaccharides, and polyols. And this is a mad scientist genius out of Monash University that discovered that these are compounds found in particular foods. And the foods that are highest in these compounds tend to be the most problematic for causing your digestive complaints, exacerbating diarrhea, constipation, gas, bloating, stomach pain, and nausea. So this diet has been found to be really, really effective. And you can download an app from Monash University. It's about $10, totally worth it. It gives you red light, yellow light, and green light to tell you what quantity of these particular foods are going to be helpful, and which ones to avoid entirely. My suggestion is when you try this out I'm going to share some cheat sheets of the foods that are completely safe, because what is really tricky about this approach is that it's quantity specific to foods, meaning you can have 13 leaves of spinach, but if you have 15, you're going to bloat. You can have 3 spears of asparagus, but if you have 4, you're going to bloat. So rather than trying to understand which foods you can have what quantity of, go ahead and go to some of your safe foods like green beans, arugula, carrots, and radishes. You can have an unlimited amount of those veggies. Most problematic foods are veggies, and some fruits. So focusing on higher protein, higher fats, lower starch, just like with Candida, is going to be the simplest approach to test this out. But definitely use the cheat sheets that I'll be sending out, and or download the Monash University app. And this is not a diet. The Candida diet or the low FODMAP diet are not diets that you're supposed to stay on long term. These are diets that are used for treatment protocols. They are used for generally starting with as little as 8 weeks to 4 months, because a low FODMAP diet is actually detrimental to your colon health. You need a diverse diet, particularly high in fermentable fibers and resistant starch, which are problematic to SIBO. So you'll see why this is so essential to get rid of this. If you do not knock SIBO down, it does not get better on its own. And if you do not knock yeast down, you are going to be unable to eat the foods that are going to be essential and vital to proliferate and feed your gut microbiome. And we know your gut microbiome is the foundation for overall health. This is where disease starts in the gut. It's when your diversity of your gut microbiome start to be disrupted, we start seeing disease follow shortly after. So again, the long-term consequences, we've got these obvious signs of poor digestion on the left. And if you're struggling with those, you know that your digestive tract is screaming from some support. But the less obvious symptoms, and the symptoms that come from long-term silent imbalances, right? Or just because we haven't been taught what these symptoms were trying to tell us. If you're struggling with multiple food sensitivities, right away, I know you have leaky gut. Your body should not be hyperreacting to foods. If you have environmental allergies or even chemical sensitivities, same thing. Body is hyperreactive. Even if this has been from the beginning of time, even this has been since you were a young child or infant, we know that your gut microbiome is off. Thyroid issues, joint issues, headaches, migraines, so many of this list you've seen, but really it's because this is what is believed to be linked to autoimmune disorder. So this is the cycle. This is a great visual from Dr. Axe of what happens when the digestive tract starts to get imbalanced and damaged over time. Your microvilli are really close together. It's what helps pull nutrients into your gut. And over time, it starts having damages and spaces and openings in your intestinal lining, which is only a cell lining thick. So Candida pokes holes in it. SIBO ends up causing malabsorption and digestive issues as well. And so you start having massive inflammation in your intestinal lining. It will then lead to nutrient absorptions like B12, magnesium, iron, actually all of your essential nutrients and vitamins, protein, carbohydrates, and fat. It triggers an immune response in the body. The body is asking why these particular food particles are in general circulation rather than staying in your intestinal tract. And then you start developing massive food sensitivities, reactivity to particular foods, and eventually autoimmune disease. It's been linked, leaky gut has been linked to everything with Hashimoto's disease, to MS, to schizophrenia, as well as even diabetes. So here are some of the symptoms, right, that affect the whole body. Rheumatoid arthritis, absolutely. Rheumatoid arthritis is massive inflammation in the joints due to a leaky gut. Food sensitivities, different skin issues, brain issues, because when you have a leaky gut, you've got a leaky brain. So what are the foundations of healthy digestion? How do we go about correcting this or preventing this from happening? And the foundation is the stomach. And this is what I see is missed in almost all gut healing programs. You go ahead and address the small intestine, you get rid of yeast, try to address getting rid of yeast and getting rid of SIBO, all to have it come back several months after you do these treatment protocols. And one of the main missing pieces that I've seen over and over and over again, and when I've missed them in my protocols, I find myself shaking my head thinking, I can't believe we did this again and we didn't address this step. So this is one of the first steps to gut healing, is to make sure that your stomach acid is properly balanced. The stomach produces hydrochloric acid, pepsin, and intrinsic factor. It's what is going to is where protein digestion actually starts. So your protein digestion, when you start chewing your food, it goes into your stomach, and proper stomach acid is going to start breaking apart protein so that you can absorb the essential amino acids to help build your muscles, to help repair damage in your body and balance your brain. It also is essential for B12. And for any of those of you who've been pregnant, B12 and folate are essential nutrients. Without them, you can have mass abnormalities for your baby. And B12 it is broken down in the stomach. It is also essential for energy. Many clients struggling with chronic fatigue had an imbalance or an autoimmune condition, where the body was unable to break down and absorb B12 in the stomach. It's called pernicious anemia. And in that case, we're needed to balance the immune system, but also we're needing to get B12 injections just to feel like they could get through their day. It's the first line of defense. It kills and neutralizes microbes like E. coli and salmonella, as well as any other viruses. Without it, your risk of having a severe response to these microbes, things like C. difficile, dramatically increases. And it obviously helps break down food, and it stimulates your pancreas to produce enzymes that help break down carbohydrates, fats, and proteins in the small intestine. So signs of stomach acid imbalance. One is telling sign. If meat makes you feel like garbage, particularly red meat, or if it sits like a brick in your stomach acid is imbalanced. If you find undigested food in your stool, if you find that you burp and belch a lot after meals, not normal. If you have upset stomach after meals, nausea when taking vitamins and supplements, if you suffer from indigestion, heartburn, and acid reflux, it is actually rarely a sign of an over acid production. It's a sign of intra-abdominal pressure and of low acid in your stomach. Iron deficiency, particularly if you're a meat eater and you're not bleeding excessively, if you've got a really heavy cycle and you're iron deficient, it can be related to that. But otherwise, that would be the first place that I would look is a stomach imbalance, B12 deficiency, and then also your desire to eat when you're not hungry, because the stomach is actually starts to self-digest itself and wants to have more acid to help. Now, one of the other major causes of stomach acid imbalances is actually PPIs, proton pump inhibitors or antacids. So these can be used in acute situations, but should not be used long term. In fact, the black box warning has shown an increased risk of kidney failure because your stomach's not breaking down protein properly. So your kidneys have to work really, really hard and they'll end up failing over time. Two, osteoporosis. You cannot absorb minerals like zinc, magnesium, iron, calcium if your stomach acid is too low. Even if they add calcium into it, you're not going to absorb it properly. And third is that your risk of dying from complications of C. difficile, which is a bacterial infection found in pretty much every surface in the hospitals, as well as in preschools and nursing homes, care facilities, is dramatically increased because the body can't fight it by trying to neutralize it with your stomach acid. If you find you're the person who has food poisoning when no one else gets it when you go out to eat and it happens more frequently to you, we need to look at your stomach acid imbalance. Fatigue as well as thyroid imbalances are also a really, really are a sign of low stomach acid, imbalanced stomach acid. There's a connection to Hashimoto's disease, which actually has to do with autoimmune thyroid disorder. And once we start working on stomach acid and digestion, we start seeing your antibodies to Hashimoto's dramatically improve. So how do we heal, gang? And this is, I'm so excited to share this step-by-step approach because I've never shared it in a group setting. And step one is to calm the fire and open up your drainage and detox pathways. So it's starting to get rid of some of the circulating toxins because when we go ahead and go after the yeast and SIBO, when we start to starve it and kill it, it's going to give off more toxins, which means you could feel even worse than you do now. And so I found through, the last 13 years of working one-on-one with clients that if we skip this, if we skip this step, you're going to feel like garbage. If we support this step, your healing will be faster and you will have fewer side effects because Candida protocol and SIBO protocols are challenging. They're some of the most challenging protocols that I've ever personally done and or protocols because of the dietary restrictions that you have, as well as this detox reaction that can take place. So we want to, the first few weeks, we work on decreasing inflammation and stress by getting off of a SAD diet, getting off of a standard American diet. We start moving towards whole foods. It's also incredibly important to start working on moving towards organic foods because all conventionally raised produce as well as conventionally raised meats are sprayed by Roundup. And Roundup has been shown to be one of the fastest causes of leaky gut syndrome, of actually unzipping your intestinal tract and causing this hyperimmune response in the body. So starting to clean up your gut and then lowering your starch, going to a really low starch diet. Paleo diet can be really, really helpful in terms of guidelines to watch for. Paleo diet is a sustainable diet. Candida diet is even more selective. with the foods that we'll be focusing on. And then essential is to start improving your stomach acid balance. And stomach acid balance, what you're wanting to do is make sure you're not drinking with your meals. You want to lower your stress, take a moment, maybe say grace or show gratitude to your food so you can take a pause and get out of that fight or flight response. And then there's some great other strategies to be able to increase stomach acid. One is just starting your day or before meals of doing a little bit of warm water with lemon juice. And then also apple cider vinegar. Apple cider vinegar in 4 ounces of water, 1 tablespoon, can be incredibly helpful for not only for heartburn, but also starting to improve your stomach acid balance. Now, step 2 is to start starving the Candida and starving the SIBO. You do this through a low FODMAP diet and an anti-Candida diet. Tap number 3 is you're going to kill it and balance it. And this is essential. Just starving it will not be adequate enough to knock it down, because what will happen is if you start to starve SIBO or Candida, it's going to come back with a vengeance when you start eating grains again, when you start eating potatoes again, or start eating some higher sugar fruits like papaya, pineapple, watermelon. It will start to proliferate again, and you'll be right back in the same position as you are in right now. So we kill it by using some targeted antimicrobials and antifungals, as well as I mentioned, really, really important, powerful binders. Binders are incredibly essential in order to get the toxins out of the body and help you start clearing brain fog more quickly, lowering your inflammation in the body. We see joint pain dramatically increase, digestion improves, heartburn goes away, itchy skin rashes start to improve, fatigue improves, sleep improves, you name it. We start seeing a dramatic improvement in all of these symptoms. So here are some herbs that we use to heal. Now, these are herbs that should not generally be used on your own. They need to be used in a protocol. So you know that you're using therapeutic dosing, you're starting them in the proper order, and you know the appropriate amount of time to stay on these herbs. I have clients who come to me saying, I heard oil of oregano is great for Candida. I've been on it for 2 years. What happens when you stay on these herbs, particularly with Candida? Candida is a very smart fungus and will learn how to become resistant to it. So you stay on these herbs too long, your body will become resistant and they will no longer work. So oil of oregano is one. Caprylic acid. This is one I really like because it has fewer side effects. Berberene's amazing for blood sugar balance, weight loss, sugar cravings, as well as knocking down Candida and SIBO. Binders, right? And I told you one of my favorite binders is zeolite, but I'm also going to give you some foods that are great binders. Saccharomyces boulardii, it's a unique form of yeast, and it's essential. This is what, if you ever have to take antibiotics, you should be taking Saccharomyces boulardii without FOS. FOS is fructooleosaccharides. You don't want to be taking FOS if you have SIBO. It's going to make your stomach feel horrible. And you want to be taking Saccharomyces boulardii for 60 days while you're on antibiotics as well as after. You also should follow antibiotics with a broad spectrum soil-based probiotic. And then for SIBO usually is only a 14-day protocol. Then we take a couple-week break and start a new protocol again, rotating particular herbs. So neem is great for your gum health. It's great for your skin. Garlic, and you're going to go, wait, garlic? Isn't garlic one of the problematic foods for SIBO? So I didn't mention earlier, 3 of the foods that are kind of indicative of SIBO is if you have a problem with garlic, onions, and or apples. Those 3 are going to be really problematic if you have a bad bacterial overgrowth. And so it's ironic that I'm giving you garlic because it actually kills the bacterial overgrowth or rebalances it, but it's garlic oil that has had the fiber removed. So that's how it works. Now, if you're doing a low FODMAP diet and you can't have garlic and onions, one of your food hacks is to actually incorporate in, you can use garlic infused olive oil. That's one of your hacks. So some foods that are great binders and that bind to toxins. Beets are probably your best one. Now, if you're following a low FODMAP diet, beets are not going to be on your list, but you can try beet juice and see how your body tolerates it. Even just 4 ounces a day, an amazing binder, helps as it works as a blood purifier, very supportive for the kidneys. And then you'll see a list of other foods. A lot of these are going to be issues, particularly okra and asparagus, as well as cauliflower if you're doing a low FODMAP diet. But carrots and green beans are great and safe for that. Now, here are a really adequate, a really extensive list of different types of binders. This is from Allison Vickery. She specializes in mold toxicity and heavy metal toxicity. And so here are some of the binders you can have. Long term, you can use a lot of the binders that I've mentioned, particularly like zeolite. Well, zeolite is 60 days. Silica is a great long-term binder. You can get that in mineral-rich water. Volvic water is one of the waters that is higher in silica. And so you can use that for a long time. Citrus pectins, you can use as well. You have to be, again, a little careful with SIBO, but these are some great. Saccharomyces boulardii is a great binder. And then Lactobacillus rhamnosus is a strain of a probiotic, can also be really helpful for binding as well. Now, I want to share a success story with you. A 38-year-old female client, and her symptoms were generalized anxiety, daily panic attacks, intrusive thoughts, and excessive worry. She had diarrhea, constipation, stomach bloating. And so what we uncovered through our work together were multiple gut infections, first and foremost. She had SIBO, Candida. She also had a parasitic infection, low pancreatic enzymes, and a high sensitivity to gluten. And we use this through a really amazing gut test called the GI map. And the GI map is a test that is only run through integrative functional medicine MDs and practitioners. The reason being is because there's no prescription that you give for these imbalances, because it's not looking for disease, right? When you go to the gastroenterologist, they're looking for disease. We're looking at the health of your gut and what we need, what it needs to start working optimally. What do we need to provide it so that it can function optimally and you can thrive? So it looks at your probiotic strains. It looks at bacteria that's indicative of SIBO. It's going to look for an infection called H. pylori. She also had a really significant H. pylori infection. And H. pylori, ironically, when we get rid of it, and I didn't believe this until I have seen it with multiple clients, can be a huge driver of anxiety. I had another colleague who was suffering with spontaneous panic attacks. He'd start having panic attacks in the middle of the night. He'd have panic attacks while, sitting on the couch watching football with his wife, and they started coming out of the blue. He started also having some chronic GI issues and other symptoms that you've been struggling with, that you may be struggling with as well. And once we finally got rid of H. pylori, his panic attacks vanished. So H. pylori is one of the things that we'll be looking at. We also look at liver gallbladder function, digestive enzyme production, and gluten sensitivity, as well as parasites and some other pathogenic bacteria. And it's really nice to test versus guess, because liver gallbladder is something that you definitely want to rule out if you're having chronic GI issues. A lot of the same symptoms that SIBO shows up as, liver gallbladder, particularly gallbladder imbalances, can show up as. So you want to make sure that you're addressing that. We also found that her thyroid was overactive and was driving her anxiety disorder. So once we started healing her gut and improving her absorption, digestion, and stomach acid balance, her thyroid started coming back into balance, and her anxiety even improved. She had iron deficient anemia, low magnesium, and the results, even 2 years later, she hasn't had a single panic attack or experienced intrusive thoughts or excessive worry. Quite amazing, right? And it's just by following these simple guidelines, you guys. Here's another case study. I know this is a little difficult to see. This is a 51-year-old female who was struggling with, you can see some digestive imbalances. Her main complaints were energy and a lot of mood swings, anxiety, depression, irritability, and overwhelm. And also struggling with binge eating, craving sugar and lots of starch, really poor diet, and then also joint and muscle pain. I mean, you can see her total score was 116. Now, after 7 days on this protocol, her score dropped over 25%, right? Amazing. And by 14 days, it dropped down to a quarter of what it was initially. Isn't this unbelievable? So this is what's possible when you provide the body what it needs and you give it a systematic approach, the body starts to heal intrinsically. So as I mentioned, right, you've got a couple different options. One option is to start to implement all of the strategies that I've shared with you today. Now, as I mentioned, this is not a easy protocol. Out of all the protocols that I have done personally and shared with my clients, this is something that takes a strategic step-by-step approach rather than just trying to throw spaghetti on the wall and hoping something sticks, trying maybe a Candida diet, then the SIBO diet. But what if we could do this together? What if, and what would your life look like in 60 days if you were able to get rid of Candida and SIBO? Could you imagine, again, 80% of your symptoms, which have been the results I've seen with client after client, where we start seeing improve, their energy improves, you get your cognition and mind back. You start feeling like yourself again. You may have a flat tummy for the first time in decades because your bloating has vanished. Headaches start to subside or disappear. Hormones start to come back into balance, and you start feeling like yourself for the first time, maybe ever. So this is your solution. And what, for the first time, I am rolling out to a small group of individuals. It's called the Digestion Fix Breakthrough Program. And it's the exact proven strategies that I've used with hundreds of my one-on-one clients to improve bacteria and yeast, to beat bacteria and yeast and improve stomach acid balance while getting rid of your symptoms. Really just so that you can start to feel alive and like yourself again. So what this program is it's an 8-week program that will provide you step-by-step guidance. We meet twice a week for 8 weeks, you guys. You have the opportunity to ask your questions to me. You've weekly support and accountability, and we will go ahead and do specific intention and goal setting and start seeing what's working and not working, being able to troubleshoot and share in our experience, share new recipes, share some of our favorite food finds, so that you can make this an easeful process and are not stuck eating steamed chicken and, steamed chicken or grilled chicken and steamed green beans. I've always said if I wasn't a nutritionist and in functional medicine, that I would be a food critic because I am a huge foodie. So I have ensured and curated some of my favorite recipes that I utilize doing an anti-Candida diet. And so that this can be easeful, fun. And one of the biggest feedback I get on this for these are that the food is delicious. So you start to come with an open mind and start experimenting. You'll get the weekly powerful nervous system calming practices. One of the biggest drivers of chronic gut imbalances and why you stay sick and have a harder time getting rid of Candida, getting your acid levels back in your stomach, as well as getting rid of SIBO, is because of chronic external stress as well as internal stress. So some of the magic in this program and the magic in making sustainable lifestyle modification is to start to weave nervous system calming practices into your daily life. We'll be doing breath work, heart coherence exercises, heart brain meditations. And I know meditation was never my thing either, but I'm going to show you the simplest way to calm the mind, even the busiest mind. If your mind is like the ticker tape on Wall Street Journal, I have had clients, one of the things I've been doing over the last 2.5 years, I've been working for a mental health company, working with a ton of mental health clients. So meditation is not something that comes easy with them. Working with a lot of clients that are type A and struggle with anxiety and a very busy mind, and using some of these daily strategies, even the first session, we get results of, I was able to get into meditation. I had no thoughts. I went into no mind, which is amazing without taking years of practice. And it's really just to improve your happiness and mental health. You're going to get a mobile tracker, this is a picture of what the mobile tracker looks like. And you're going to have curated meal plans, recipes, shopping lists, videos, and the ability to track your habits to keep you accountable. You'll have an entire blueprint that you have access to you're going to have access to this program lifetime access to this program, at least to the recordings on this program. So if you do have to miss a program, one of our sessions over the 8 weeks, they'll be recorded and you'll get lifetime access to it. You get my Love Your Digestion ebook. And most importantly, you're going to start getting the exact prescriptions for health and protocol to beat yeast and bacteria, improve stomach balance so that you can absorb and digest nutrients, but most importantly, so that this does not come back with a vengeance once you start eating your regular diet again. So you'll also receive week 1 protocol for the digestion fix, and week 4 through 8 protocol is going to be, you receive 20% off of these pharmaceutical grade third-party tested supplements. And one of the ones that I just absolutely love, we've got zeolites here. We've got another amazing binder, chlorella, and paleo cleanse powder, which gives you everything your liver needs to help clear out toxins and histamines. We also are starting something called Gastromend, and Gastromend is incredible because it balances the stomach. It helps get rid of problematic bacteria that's the number one cause of stomach acid imbalances, stomach cancer, and stomach ulcers. And it starts to heal the mucosa of the gut. This supplement has been something that I've been able to use for clients so that then they can go to their doctor and discuss weaning from their lifelong usage of antacids or even chronic use of antacids, because we start healing the root cause. It is not suggested to go off your antacid. You need to heal get rid of these gut imbalances, start healing the stomach lining, and then you can have that discussion with your prescribing medical practitioner. So weeks 1 through 4, we're going to be calming the fire and decreasing inflammation and stress. We'll start with removing gut offending foods. So as I mentioned, gluten is one of the ones that we'll be taking out, and we'll be starting to focus on a high protein diet, getting rid of processed foods, getting off sugar, and just starting to gradually make this transition. If you do this too abruptly, you will have significant die-off reactions and could feel worse than you do today. We're going to invigorate, open up drainage and detox pathways. And this is where right away, the results I showed you within 7 to 14 days of doing this are that powerful. You'll start to see brain fog lift, joint pain improve, fatigue improve, digestion improve. You may even feel like you're sleeping more deeply and also starting to drop some weight. This is an amazing protocol on the vanity standpoint. I've seen cellulite disappear, and body fat reduction is definitely a positive side effect of this program. You're going to improve stomach acid balance and then start your gut balancing protocol. Weeks 2 through 8. So after those 2 through 8, we're going to work on starving yeast and bacteria. We'll be starting the Candida diet or low FODMAP diet. I am going to be emailing you cheat sheets if you want to give this a try on your own of what to eat and what not to eat. You'll get recipes, meal plans, shopping guides, the mobile app, right? And then weeks 4 through 8, we're going to be also killing and rebalancing. So, right through here, 2 through 8, we're going to be working on the dietary component. 4 through 8 is when we start adding in antimicrobials and some antifungals and continuing to practice our nervous system calming practices. But we know this is the ultimate support for your immune system, your digestion, and for internal healing. So here's another incredible story. Transformational. This is my firecracker client, Sarah. You can see before she looked fantastic, but she was struggling with chronic digestive imbalances, diarrhea, stomach pain since the 4th grade. She had struggled with IBS, anxiety. She was a very healthy eater and had a tendency to exercise more than not. I would even say more on the excessive side. And within 8 weeks of some of the exact protocols that I'm going to share with you, we had not even actually started her yeast protocol. Her chronic diarrhea and IBS disappeared. She did start to see flares when her anxiety increased, but she saw a dramatic improvement in her anxiety. She lost the bloat, lost obviously a ton of belly fat and body fat, and this was with no change in her exercise. She said she actually was exercising less. And all we really did was start to remove inflammatory gut irritants and start to heal her digestive tract. Here's another testimonial, just showing the powerful of an anti-Candida protocol that she was on a diet and protocols right now, that her son has ADHD and has significantly improved with a Candida diet, along with consistent antifungals and special probiotic combo pack. And she said, I know I'm preaching to the choir, but she's so incredibly grateful that this information is being shared on a larger scale because it's been so life-changing for her and her family. So what you get, you're going to get 8 weeks of small group coaching where you can get Q&A, access to me, as well as teaching sessions, live breathwork, meditation and movement practices, complete nutrition plan, health coaching in your hand with the mobile app. You can take it anywhere, a complete guide to gut and toxin rebalancing program, and then the Digestion Fix ebook. So you'll see this is over $3,000 in value. And the price of this, for hiring me for 16 hours, right? For 16 sessions would be over $3,600. If you're working with me one-on-one, a single session is around $300. Other programs with well-known functional medicine MDs charge upwards of $5,000. And then collectively do-it-yourself programs, meaning you're just going to go do this on your own. You're going to get the protocols. But as I said, these are not easy protocols. These are protocols where I have seen accountability, support, fine-tunings, and especially being able to come together in a group and share what's working and what's not working, what famous food finds you found can be really helpful. Even these programs are $300 to $900 for an 8-week program. But because I'm doing this for the first time, this is a pilot program. First time I'm rolling this out, I'm offering this at a really deep discount. I'm offering it for $595, or you can do 2 installments of $325. So even a single 4-week program with me is usually around $300, and that's just meeting 1 day a week. We're going to meet 2 days a week, you guys, and get nervous system calming practices, which really are going to help shift the needle so you have long-term sustainability. You're also going to get access to my 7-day healthy habits videos. These are 7 days of hour-long videos that go into different nutrition hacks and daily practices, along with me and a colleague. And you also have a 30-day money-back guarantee. You have a 30-day bearing. I stand so strongly behind this program that if within 30 days of starting this program, you decide this is not working, this is not meeting my expectations, you will get a full refund. The exclusion to this are the supplements. The supplements are a separate purchase, and they will not be refunded. This is going to be limited to 10 individuals. We had 100 people sign up for this webinar. We only had a handful of people on today, which one of you is going to get a $250 certificate. So almost covering almost half of the group program, or it can be used with me in a one-on-one, but it'll be limited to 10 of you. So here is a summary of everything you're going to get. This is a packed program, you guys, for $595. This program could go for $595 without having any live sessions with me. And instead, you are getting 16 sessions with me and a group, for accountability. And really, at the end of the day, this is what you'll receive, right? At the end of 8 weeks is to get your energy and vitality back. No more brain fog. You get your mind and clarity back. No more bloating, heartburn, or digestive complaints are dramatically improved. No more joint pain or puffiness. You start to recognize your body again. You say goodbye to seasonal allergies, headaches, sinus issues. And more than anything, you start to feel like yourself again. So the program starts November 1st. There are only 10 slots, and it's going to be Tuesdays from 7 to 8 p.m. and Thursdays from 7 to 7:30. Now, I am open to discussing if these times don't work. If daytime times would work better, depending on the people that are interested in the program, we may be able to play with times a little bit. So that's not a non-negotiable. But Tuesdays and Thursdays would be more likely be the days. Monday, Wednesdays may be able to do a daytime program. All sessions are going to be recorded. So if you are going to have to miss a part of our training and teaching sessions or a practice, they'll be recorded so that, and especially the practices, so that you can incorporate these practices in daily into, and these practices are as short as 11 minutes to completely shift your mental health, your level of joy, your level of stress. And registration is going to close by the 26th because I need to make sure that you get all your program materials as well as order your supplements. And on top of that, remember, you'll get a 20% off of all of your supplements for phase 1 for the first 4 weeks, as well as weeks 4 through 8. All right, you guys, this is the link. I'm going to put that in the follow-up email. You can take a screenshot of it right now. I'll also put it in the chat box. So let me put this in the chat box right now. Okay. I'll send it to you follow up so that you can get registered right away. And obviously those of you who are on this live call have access to sign up before anyone, because the recording isn't going to go out for another day. So jump on this opportunity, lock in your price, lock in your space, and I'm excited to start to work with you. So before we jump into Q&A, we've got a handful of people on the call. I'm just going to write down your names really quickly. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen. So let me just write down your names. I'm going to give you guys each a number. So glad you guys were able to jump on live. And let's see. Excellent. Okay. So I'm going to just randomly assign numbers to you guys. I'm going to close my eyes. Think of a number, and it's the number 2, which Amy, you are going to get the $250 gift certificate. So so thrilled. Please make sure you send me your email in the chat so that I can get that to you and you can apply it towards a one-on-one consult with me, or you can apply it to the Digestion Fix program, which hopefully that's why you're here. So I want to jump into a couple questions. It looks like Anne has a question um, about timing. And again, it's going to be November 1st. Oh, and what about it's over the holidays? Yes. So this program is during the holidays. But the way that I look at it is you are going to have incredible accountability and support to minimize slip ups. You're going to be provided with amazing anti Candida recipes that are delicious to help you sail through the holidays and being able to stay on plan. And just think, by the time January 1st rolls around, you will already have 2 months of your New Year's resolution done and behind you. You'll already be feeling and looking great and will prevent you from going crazy over the holidays, right? I generally see clients that have an average weight gain of 5 to 10 pounds over the holidays, and digestive symptoms start to really flare up because of excessive amounts of alcohol, excessive amounts of sugar and processed foods. So it's something that, yes, it's through the holidays, but you're not alone with this. You'll get the hand holding, the accountability, and what better way to start the new year than to already have this program behind you. So Evie said she's been working with me one-on-one. She said she is sleeping so much better. She's had to use sleep aids and even CBD to try to get through the night, and she's sleeping so much better. I'm so glad to hear that. And that you also said you feel like your mind is a little bit clearer. You're still struggling with some nausea, so there's still some things to work on. We have not even started working on these gut issues, and that you would really like to do this program, but you're gone for the majority of November. Maybe we'll have to talk offline. If you've got access to the internet, right, that's something that you can still, you'll have recordings if you can't join us live. Oh, I'm seeing, okay, you don't have access to the internet. Okay, so that's going to be a problem. So when will I be running this program again? I will be running this program again. This is a pilot program, so I don't know if we get the results that I'm hoping to. I wouldn't be running this again until usually around June of next year. So if you're wanting to get rid of this, and get on this right now, if you already are thinking, I've spent how many years struggling silently with these imbalances and these issues and really searching for answers, then I would say jump on it now. There is never going to be a convenient time, you guys. I have seen this over and over until you make the time and you make this a priority. There will always be holidays and birthdays and celebrations and vacations, and you have to learn to adjust I call this thing called life, right? And the chaos called life, and be able to adjust accordingly. But you do it with training wheels on. You do it with a coach, you do it with a team, so that you have all the tools, accountability, and support that you need to be successful and stay on track. So any other, there were a couple questions that, hold on for 1 second, that had come in through email. And one of the questions is, can you do this if you are pregnant and or nursing? So you can absolutely do the dietary protocol. The supplements you will not be utilizing outside of some specific targeted special probiotics like Saccharomyces boulardii can be really helpful, but otherwise supplements will not be a piece of this. Now, another question I had is, can you do this without the supplements? I recommend against it for all the reasons that I have spoken about in this training. One is because I see people crash and burn and give up too quickly because they start feeling so crappy without the supplemental support to help bind and clear out toxins and open your drainage pathways. Number two is it will come back. When you start eating back to your normal, even if you start eating a clean diet, you start incorporating in more starch and maybe higher sugar fruits, higher sugar, veggies, maybe even incorporating in alcohol here and then, it will come back and you will be right in the same predicament that you're in today. So the supplements are really essential for making sure that you're beating these three pervasive gut imbalances. All right, you guys, I'm super excited. I will be sending some cheat sheets. Okay, cheat sheets for SIBO, cheat sheets for Candida. So you at least can try some of this out over the next few weeks. And keep in mind, October 26th is when registration closes. The sooner you register, the more it's going to ensure that you get a spot. And if 7 o'clock doesn't work for you, please reach out, send me an email and tell me what days and times would be optimal for a twice a week program for you. Thanks so much and blessings. I'm so grateful for all of you.